official podcast, She Inspires Us. Well, ladies, we are here, the grand finale. It's the end. Well, not the end of the podcast, but the last episode of this series, She Inspires Us. We have had so many amazing women come through this room to share their light, to share their stories, their struggles, and also the victory, right? What is it that they're living today, and truly inspiring. And today is going to be no different, because we have somebody amazing in the room, someone that I've been able to see. She says that she's always in the back. Well, yeah, I've seen her in the back, but I've also seen her personal transformation as the years have come through, and she is truly an inspiration to us. So we have in the room, all the way from San Benito, Texas, Miss Aysha. How are you doing today?
Hello. Thank you for having me, and I'm doing great.
How do you feel?
Great. I feel excited. Nervous, excited, all together.
We're excited for you to share your story with all the women that are listening to the podcast. And so why don't we dive right in, Aysha, and share with us, who you are, right? How old you are, how long you've been in Team Beauty, how did Team Beauty find you, and then we'll kick it off from there.
All right. So my name is Aysha. I am 34 years old. When Herbalife found me, I was the heaviest I'd ever been, at about 305 pounds. I was a severe alcoholic. When I say that, I mean that I lived and breathed by the bottle. And I also did not like to socialize. I did not like people. I was just not a very happy person. And that was me 7.5 years ago.
And how did you bump into Team Beauty? How did it find you?
My sponsor actually no longer does the business, but I am very grateful to her. Her name is Lexi, and she is from Mercedes. And she actually invited me to a bingo. And she nagged and nagged and nagged until I said, okay, fine, I'll show up to your bingo. So that's why I was there, just to play loteria.
And whenever, the idea of the challenge came around, why did you say yes to a transformation challenge?
Well, I actually wanted tea. So I was like, what else do I need? And of course, she recommended the aloe. And I always had trouble going to the restroom as a child, as a, young adult. And so the tea changed my life. And when she said, we're doing a 12-week challenge, do you want to join? And I said, okay, what do I need? And that was it. So December 8th, it wasn't even that long from when I said yes to her bingo to when you kicked off the first challenge I joined. So I was like, I'm in. The tea changed my life.
Wow. So you mentioned that you were at your heaviest, right? And that also you lived by the bottle.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about alcoholism. We're going to talk about, your journey to weight loss, because obviously you've dropped over 50 pounds. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And so you were at your heaviest. What was your life like, or what was your lifestyle like before joining and being a part of our community?
Well, I used to work retail. So I was, excuse me, I was always the closer. Excuse me. I was always the closer. So I would work 2 p.m. to whatever time in the a.m. they wanted to let me go, whether that was 2 a.m., 3 a.m., as long as the store was left clean, that's when we were allowed to go. So my daily life was revolving around work. And then when I turned 21, that life became work and vodka. So my daily life was, I would work, get out of work, start to drink, take a nap, and then repeat.
So what time was that? Around what times was that?
Well, I would stop drinking at about 5 a.m., give myself an hour to get home. So sober up a little bit, drive home, which was very dangerous. Don't drink and drive. But I would go home at around maybe 6:30, take a nap, be up by 12, and then go back to work and do it all over again.
So that was from 21 years old?
From 21 to about
When did you start drinking?
21.
21.
Yeah, I didn't touch a single drop of alcohol till I was 21.
Okay, was that like, a thing where you were like waiting for 21? Because I know people, that drink before, even though we can't, right? But we do. You start drinking before. So what was it for you? How did you grow up? What did alcohol mean to you before the age of 21?
Growing up, there was always alcohol around. There was always, adult things when you're a child. They're called adult things. So, we were those kids that the Theo would send you, oh, go get me a beer from the refrigerator, because it was always around. So we were always taught these cans, you can't touch them. And so when I grew up very sheltered. We were dropped off at school. We were picked up. My dad would be waiting for us by like 3:45 if we got out at 4. We would go to the farm, because I did do FFA, and then we would go home. We were not allowed to like, oh, I'm going to stay after with my friends. Oh, I'm going to do this. We weren't allowed that. My dad was a very mother chicken, like bring all the pollitos, bring everybody. And so growing up, there was always alcohol because it was an adult beverage. And I guess it just stuck. So when I turned 21, I was officially an adult and I could do what I wanted to. And I was working and I had my own money. And that's when I was like, okay, so this is something I think I'm going to invest in, which wasn't the right choice, but 21.
Wow. And how did you know that, like, because you said vodka. I mean, you weren't picking up a Michelob or like a Corona, right? Like, you weren't picking up beer. You were picking up alcohol, vodka. So, like, how did that become an addiction, or how did that become a daily thing from trying it because you turned 21 and you're celebrating to doing that every single day?
Well, I had first tried tequila. Okay. And then we all know how much tequila will affect you. Yeah. So I said no. And then I had a best friend at the time, and he was like, okay, you want to learn to drink? And I said, yeah. And he's like, okay, let's teach you. So it was actually his drink of choice, which was the vodka. And I was like, all right, I'm in. If you say this will help me like learn and pace myself and not end up the way I had before. Yeah, it was like going to Feldman's and choosing like what looked fancy in the bottle or what looked pretty at that time, because I still didn't know. And since we were on a budget, it was plastic. So yeah, that's how it started. It was vodka and cranberry juice.
And how did that become a daily thing?
I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn not to make excuse my language, an ass of myself. Like, I wanted to be able to hold my liquor, not to go to a party and be like, whoa, after 2 cups, you know? So he was like, okay, I'll show you. And he was an alcoholic. So it just like trickled, and we would do this daily. I think the only time I would take a break was when they would randomly switch up my schedule and I had to open. So I had to get out at like 2:00 in the morning and then be back by 6:30. So those were the only days where I would not drink with them, but I would still drink. And that's, I think drinking alone was my thing of, I really do need this to survive. That was my turning point, where it wasn't just like social drinking anymore. This was me drinking alone because I couldn't stand it. Like the things going on in my mind.
And what type of things would go on in your mind, or what made you feel that you needed to drink?
Oh, here come the tears. I told you, Jerry, I'm a crier. I always felt that I wasn't enough as a daughter. Yeah, like my sister's a smart one. So my sister has a lot of certificates, a lot of degrees under her belt. And I was the one working at Walmart. So I say retail because I don't like to mention them anymore, because I did give them 10.5 years of my life. And I think that was enough.
Let this be the last.
I know. I don't even like to go shop there. I'm like HEB. Yeah. But so I was always trying to better myself. I did become one of the youngest managers at the Wesco Walmart at the time I was there, because I was 19 and I was running the front end, which is like all the cashiers, everybody in the front. So I was trying to excel like that. But then you have a lot of older managers looking at you and like, they really just bash you because you're young. So it was more me trying to just relieve stress and like, I guess, live a life I never had when I was younger. Yeah.
Which was drinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so you become an alcoholic. When do you think that you feel that, how fast is it from 21 to what, that you're like, dude, I can't live without this? How fast do you feel that urge or that rage of like, I want it every single day?
It happened pretty quick because I do have addictive tendencies. So if I like hyperfixate on something, it just becomes something that I need every day. Like something that it's a must. If
So
not,
how
like,
fast was that?
I'm going to say about 5 months.
5 months. So 5 months, you drank for how many years straight?
Maybe like 6. Because I joined when I was 27.
So your 20s.
Yeah.
Every single day.
In my 20s.
Every single day.
Yeah.
And so why am I asking this? Because if you're listening now, you know, it doesn't have to be alcohol that you're addicted to. It could be anything that you find that is not something positive in your life or creating a positive ripple effect. Aysha, now knowing what you know today, do you believe that your environment, you know, that you're a product of your environment, the people that you surround yourself with, you know, that is who you become at the end of the day?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. My coach, Selena, she calls it our pink bubble. And the pink bubble is something if you're not near Team Beauty, you should try to get to one, because that pink bubble is something totally different. The ladies in there, whether it be the coaches or, you know, just our clients themselves, it's something that just changes your life. Excuse me, changes your life on a daily. Like, it's not just about a pink day or a booty Thursday. It's about showing up for yourself and giving yourself that hour that you could be doing something else.
When you were doing that transition, right? Because 21 to what? Like maybe like 27 years old, you find Team Beauty, you get started on this transformation challenge, and like, how was that journey to drop 50 pounds? Because now you're down 50 pounds. You know, how has that journey been? What are you proud of? What have you learned about Aysha?
Oh, it's crazy. But I think the one thing I am proud of is that I can say that I'm no longer an alcoholic. I, do drink occasionally because we're adults, but I no longer need it to survive. There were days where getting to work, like I said, I would work different schedules. So getting to work, I would throw out water from a water bottle and fill it with vodka. And that was my daily, like every other day when I wasn't able to hang out with my friends. But now, like, I'm proud to say that I no longer need it to survive. And that's all because of the happiness I feel. Like, I'm no longer searching for happiness outside of myself.
Outside of your alcohol, right? Like, that was your happiness.
Yeah. It wouldn't make me feel happy. It would give me a different sense. Like, it would, I don't know. I guess I was searching for something, and with finding Team Beauty, like, I've learned that it's not about what's around, it's how you're feeling inside. How that you learn to really truly appreciate the person you are inside, and stepping out of your comfort zone and being like, this is who I am.
Were you ever like, damn, I'm not gonna drink? Like, were you ever asking yourselves questions like, that's not me anymore? Like, is that weird for you?
Oh, I still do.
Are you like so proud of that? Like, what are those conversations in your head? Because obviously, you were conversating in a negative manner that would take you to drink alcohol. Now you've decided, because that's been a decision, that's a choice.
Yes.
So, like, what are those conversations now, and how do you control that?
It's funny that you bring that up, because I do it every other weekend, like just STS weekend. Like, I'm awake early and I'd be like, I'd barely be going to sleep. Like, I'd barely be, trying to not be hungover the next day, or, you know, going to the club, getting everything ready for the girls, the location. And I'm like, I'd probably be going to Philman's right now, like to buy a bottle for this evening, because more than likely I would have run out. And so it's it's always in my mind, the look at how far you've come. Look at how proud you should be of yourself, because I was able to drop that habit, that little addiction that I had, because it was honestly an addiction, because I needed it. So,
And so now your life looks different,
yeah,
because
real different.
your drives are to other places,
Yeah.
right? Like the Team Beauty facility, your fit camp, working out, changing that lifestyle. So, in that journey of dropping the 50 pounds, obviously you had those habits, addictive habits, the foods that you would eat that took you to over 300 pounds, right? So now creating these new habits, how has that been for you? What has made it easy inside of what we do in Team Beauty? What has allowed you to continue progressing? Because it's been a slow but consistent
Yes.
drop, where you don't go back to your old style,
ways, old habits.
Yeah.
I think the first couple of challenges that I did, where I honestly went cold turkey. I purchased my first full package, right, when I first started. And I said, this was a lot of money. I'm going to take it seriously. So little by little, I did stop drinking. And I was able to get my first transformation. And for the second one, it was more like, I don't need that lifestyle anymore. So going through my years, I've realized that, I no longer need those 2 a.m., 3 a.m. drives to buy tacos, or, any Mexican little restaurant that's open for the drunks. I no longer, my body thanked me. And that's where I realized that this was something positive. Like, I noticed a transformation, not only me being happy, just being happy, but like, I didn't realize how bad I was feeling. So that's what's kept me going. The happiness that radiates from the inside when you've made a good choice.
You've been in Team Beauty for almost 8 years, so 7 and something, right?
7 and change.
7 and change. So what is it that has kept you through inside of the community, inside of seeking to improve your life, your financial life? Like, what is it that has kept you fighting for your future?
Honestly, the community, the friendships that I've made, the mentors I've had along the way. I had always done Team Beauty, but I had never fully done Team Beauty.
What does that mean?
I'd never had a facility. I'd never been part of a facility. So when my dad passed in 2018, I actually joined a little nutrition club in Mercedes that had permission to do Team Beauty at that point. And that was my first in a Team Beauty facility kind of experience. And I met really good friends there that actually kept me going, because 2018 was a hard year. I lost my father. So that's when I feel like my transformation was put on a hold for me. I had to take over the household. Being the youngest, that was something very unexpected. My mother and my father were best friends in life, so she was not able to function. So when I say I gave Walmart 10 and a half years of my life, I didn't leave because I wanted to. That was the reason I left, to take over the household. So 2018, everything kind of took a step back, and my family was pushed to the forefront. And having the friends that I was able to create through that experience I joke with Valerie because Valerie was one of the ones there. And I was like, now you're stuck with me. 5 years later, and we opened up an official Team Beauty Westlaco. So just the friendships, the unexpected friendships, the women rooting for each other for you to succeed, not being selfish, not judging you when you walk in that door looking like, oh, she's here again to try, the arms open, the welcoming, the effect that you get from walking into a Team Beauty or meeting beauty sisters like at our experiences that are like, oh, I'm so happy for you. And I'm like, I don't know you, but yay,
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm happy for her because I've seen her transformation, on the chats. And that's something to get excited about because we get to meet people from everywhere. Not just from our little bubble. I dropped another one.
It's okay.
We get to meet beauties from everywhere. And I think that's what kept me going. The being happy for myself, for showing up, and also being able to celebrate other women who may need what we have found already.
Where do you think you would be today if you hadn't had showed up to that bingo?
In a very different place.
What do you think that looks like?
I'd be very angry because I do keep up with, the news and stuff. And a couple of years ago, they had that vodka thing with Russia. They no longer sell the vodka I would drink. So I'd be very upset. Let's be honest. I'd be very upset because I was one of those people, if you didn't have that, I wasn't going to drink anything, right? So I always showed up. That's what I said. I always showed up with my own bottle because it was the expensive one. And they don't sell that nowadays. So I know I'd be very upset. I'd also be very heavy because I grew up a big child. And the doctors were like, no, it's because of her height, like their bone density and stuff like that. So we were never called obese, right? It wasn't a word they used back then. And I never saw anything wrong with it. So when I did, as an adult, notice that I was growing in weight, I would always tell myself, I'm not going to lose weight until I feel bad. That point never came. That point didn't come until I was on a full program. And I said, what the fuck have I been doing to myself? I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Like, what have I been doing to myself through all these years? Like, there isn't a point where your body's going to tell you stop unless you have a heart attack. And I don't want that for me. I don't want that for, my family to have to deal with, or, something that I'm going to end up in a wheelchair or something like that, because that Mexican food was good.
Yeah.
It still is, but I've learned moderation.
And now where do you see yourself? If you were to look in the next 3 years, 5 years, what is Aysha becoming? Who is she becoming?
I'm becoming somebody I can be proud of. And that's the only thing I can be grateful for.
Yes.
Like, little Aysha would look up at me and be like, oh, wow, we've come a long way. Especially 24-year-old me, because I had no direction in life. No direction, no goals. I would just live for the bottle. And that was something that I look at it now and I'm like, homegirl, like, we weren't going to go anywhere.
You were missing out.
Yeah.
You were missing out. You know, can you imagine that your best years are still ahead, right? That you have yet to see the victories that God has planned for you, and that, yes, you should be very proud of who you are, the weight that you've lost, the lifestyle changes that you've made, because if you think about an alcoholic at the age of 21, right, drinking every single day, past dawn, taking naps, doing 12-hour shifts, and continuing that journey beyond the 300-pound mark, what kind of lifespan does that give you? And you've made bold decisions, whether you think they're big or not. And I'm speaking to everybody that's listening right now. Up to today, where we stand, we've made bold decisions that have created a happier version of you,
Yeah.
right? A better version of you. They say this thing that once your mind has expanded, you can never go back. So once you're exposed to more happiness, to a pink bubble, right?
Definitely.
To a positive circle of friends, to people who are willing to elevate you. When you go back, now you could tell the difference and you're able to make, those decisions. And so, super proud of you. Very inspiring, Aysha, because we have watched you from afar in the back, but we've watched you not give up on yourself. And that's amazing. Okay. And that's something that you should be very proud of. So to finish the podcast, for everybody that's listening that has related to you in your story, what are some action steps that they can take on this week? If they say enough is enough, or I need to make some changes, what are those 2-3 things that you could give them to start taking action so they could start to see that for themselves as well?
First of all, stay plugged in. Don't think just because you had a little mishap that it's all over. No, stay plugged in, keep going. Don't be afraid to reset. Don't be afraid to, maybe if you feel overwhelmed one day, take a breather, but always come back. Don't alienate yourself from the pink bubble. Staying in the pink bubble, staying close to the flame of the pink bubble will really do you wonders. Don't think you do this alone, because there's many of us out there and we all have different stories, different backgrounds that we can relate to and keep us going.
We aren't the exception.
Yeah.
Right? And so congratulations, Aysha.
Thank you.
Way to wrap up our Team Beauty series. She inspires us. You guys, so many amazing women. We want to thank each and every single one of you that crossed through this door to share your story. It doesn't matter if you're a mom, if you're single, if you're overweight or fit, everybody has a purpose and a different journey. And all of these stories have inspired us to continue to act positively, continue to grow in our purpose and, evolve, right? We found many different reasons to be grateful for the life that we do carry, because even that, Aysha, like so many times we can compare ourselves to other people, and they say that comparison is a thief of joy, right? Like comparing somebody else's chapter 20 to your chapter 1 or chapter 2, and it's like you can always find gratitude when you're able to say, man, like I thought I had it hard, right? Like everybody has something that they have to live through. That's the beauty of life. That's the adventure of life. So congratulations if you made it through this entire series, and there will be another, okay? We're kicking off the next challenge, and thank you so much for listening in. Aysha, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you guys on the next one.